I still park near the entrance now, even in broad daylight. It's been 8 months since that night at the mall, and I can't shake the feeling that something was waiting for me in the back row. I worked closing shifts at a department store, and the employee lot was always nearly empty by the time I left at 11. The mall had been dying for years, so most nights it was just me and maybe 2 other cars scattered across an ocean of asphalt under flickering sodium lights. I never thought much about it until I noticed the same silver sedan parked in the exact same spot, 3 rows behind mine, every single night for a week straight. The first time I saw it, I figured it belonged to another employee with a similar schedule. But by the 3rd night, I realized I never saw anyone get in or out of it. The car was always there when I arrived at 3 in the afternoon, and still there when I left at 11. On the 5th night, I walked past it on purpose, taking a longer route to my car just to look inside. The windows were tinted, but I could see enough to know the car was empty. No coffee cups, no parking passes, no trash. The interior looked pristine, almost staged. That's when I noticed the driver's seat was reclined all the way back, like someone had been lying down in it. I started leaving through the loading dock entrance after that, coming out on the opposite side of the lot. My manager gave me shit about it because technically only stockroom guys were supposed to use that exit, but I didn't care. For 3 nights, I avoided that section entirely, speed walking to my car with my keys already in my hand. Then on the 4th night, I came out the loading dock door and stopped cold. The silver sedan was parked 2 spaces away from my car, in a completely different section of the lot. I stood there under the dock light, staring at it, trying to convince myself it was a different vehicle. But I could see the same dent in the rear bumper, the same parking permit dangling from the mirror. I called mall security from inside the loading area. The guard who answered sounded annoyed, like I was wasting his time, but he said he'd drive over and check it out. I watched through the door's wire-reinforced window as his golf cart puttered across the empty lot. He circled the sedan twice, shined his flashlight through the windows, then shrugged and drove away. My phone rang 30 seconds later. He told me the car was empty, the doors were locked, and there was nothing suspicious about it. When I asked if he could wait while I walked to my car, he said he had to check the north entrance and hung up. I waited another 10 minutes before I forced myself to move. The walk to my car felt endless. I kept my eyes forward, refusing to look at the sedan as I passed it, my hand tight around my phone with 911 already dialed, my thumb hovering over the call button. I got in my car, locked the doors, and started the engine in one continuous motion. As I backed out, my headlights swept across the sedan's rear window. For just a second, I saw the silhouette of someone sitting up in the reclined driver's seat, their head turning to watch me leave. I slammed my car into drive and didn't look back, my hands shaking so badly I almost hit a light post on my way out. I called in sick the next day and typed out my 2 weeks' notice that afternoon. My manager tried to convince me to stay, offering me earlier shifts, but I couldn't explain what I'd seen without sounding paranoid or insane. On my last night, I parked in the front visitor lot and walked through the main entrance, taking the long way through the empty mall to get to my store. When my shift ended, I left through the same route. As I crossed the front lot, I looked toward the employee section in the distance. Even from hundreds of feet away, I could see it, a silver sedan parked in the back row, completely alone under a malfunctioning light that strobed on and off. I got in my car and drove home, and I never went back. Sometimes I wonder if it's still there, waiting in that same spot, or if it's moved on to follow someone else. I see silver sedans everywhere now in grocery store lots, outside gas stations, idling at red lights behind me. Most of them are probably nothing, but I can't help checking the driver's seat, looking for that telltale recline. Last week, I saw one parked outside my apartment complex, 3 buildings down from mine. It was there when I left for work in the morning, and still there when I came home that night. The driver's seat was reclined all the way back, and I swear I saw the headrest move just slightly, like someone was adjusting their position while lying down. I'm starting to think distance doesn't matter. I'm starting to think it found me again. The parking garage under my office building has 8 levels, and I've worked here for 4 years without incident. I park on level 6 because it's usually empty, and I like the walk down the stairwell. It gives me time to mentally prepare for the day or decompress after work. But 3 weeks ago, I started noticing someone had been inside my car. Nothing was missing, nothing was damaged, but small things were different. My seat was adjusted back 2 inches. The rearview mirror was tilted at a slightly different angle. A coffee cup I'd left in the cup holder was moved to the passenger side. I thought maybe I was misremembering, or that I'd done it myself and forgot. Then I found the photos. They were tucked into the sun visor on the driver's side, 4 Polaroids held together with a rubber band. Each one showed the interior of my car from the driver's seat perspective, taken at different times of day based on the light coming through the windshield. In one photo, my gym bag was visible in the back seat. In another, you could see a work badge I'd left on the dashboard. The third showed a coffee cup in the holder, the same one that had been moved. The fourth was taken at night, the dashboard illuminated only by the garage's dim overhead lights. I sat there staring at them, trying to understand what I was seeing, and then I noticed something that made my throat close up. In the reflection of the rearview mirror in the last photo, you could just barely see the edge of someone's face. I went straight to building security. The guard took my information and said they'd review the garage footage, but warned me the cameras on level 6 had been broken for 2 months and maintenance kept pushing back the repairs. He suggested I park on a different level until they caught whoever it was. I asked him how someone was getting into my car without breaking the locks, and he just shrugged and said some people were good with slim gyms. That answer didn't satisfy me, but I took his advice and started parking on level 3, right under a working camera. For 5 days, nothing happened. My car was exactly how I left it. I started to relax, convincing myself it had been a one-time thing. On the 6th day, I came down after work and found my car was gone. Not stolen, just moved. I walked the entire 3rd level twice, checking every row before I found it on level 6 in my old spot. The doors were locked, the alarm was still set, and my keys were in my pocket, the only set I owned. I stood there in complete confusion, staring at my car sitting exactly where I used to park it, before I forced myself to look inside. Another photo was on the driver's seat. This one showed me walking through the parking garage that morning, taken from behind, my back to the camera. My coat, my bag, my posture, all clearly identifiable. On the back, someone had written in neat handwriting, "Level 3 is too crowded." I drove straight to a locksmith and had my car rekeyed. I bought a steering wheel lock and a kill switch for the ignition. I started taking photos of my car before I left it each morning and checking them against its condition when I returned. Security called me 2 days later and said they'd reviewed footage from every working camera in the garage and found nothing unusual. No one approached my car, no one matching my description of suspicious activity. They suggested maybe I was dealing with stress and should consider taking some time off. I hung up on them and called the police, who told me without evidence of theft or damage, there wasn't much they could do. They took a report and said they'd increase patrols in the area. Last week, I came down to level 3 and found all 4 of my tires slashed. Not punctured, fully cut through, rubber peeling away from the rims. Security cameras supposedly caught nothing. While I waited for the tow truck, I walked up to level 6. I don't know why. Maybe I was looking for answers or just too angry to think straight. My old parking spot was occupied by a different car, a gray Honda I didn't recognize. But sitting on the concrete parking bumper in front of the space was a Polaroid camera, the old-fashioned kind that prints photos instantly. It was just sitting there in the middle of the garage, placed deliberately where I would see it. I picked it up and looked through the viewfinder. It was pointed directly at the stairwell door I'd just come through. I put the camera back exactly where I found it and left. I quit my job the next morning with no notice and no explanation. My boss was furious, but I couldn't spend another day in that building. The tow truck driver asked me where I wanted my car taken, and I told him to a shop across town, as far from that garage as possible. While we were loading it onto the flatbed, he made small talk and mentioned he'd done another tow from this same garage 2 weeks ago. 4 slashed tires on a Lexus. Exactly the same situation. He said the owner had quit her job too and moved to a different city entirely. I asked if he remembered anything else about it, and he said yeah. She told him someone kept leaving photos in her car. He thought she was paranoid. Looking back, I don't think she was paranoid enough. The grocery store near my house has a weird parking lot layout where the back section is separated from the main building by a service road. And most people avoid parking back there because it's poorly lit and requires a longer walk. I used it regularly because I liked the exercise and the back section was always empty, which meant easy in and out parking. 3 months ago, I started noticing the same motorcycle parked in the back corner every time I shopped there. Always in the same spot near the dumpster enclosure, always alone. It was an older bike, black with chrome accents, covered in road dust like it had been ridden hard. I figured it belonged to an employee until I asked about it at customer service, and they said none of their staff rode motorcycles. The 4th or 5th time I saw it, I walked past it deliberately to check for any identifying information. No license plate. No registration sticker, nothing to indicate who owned it or whether it was abandoned. The seat was cracked and faded. The mirrors were adjusted at odd angles pointing toward the ground. And one of the handlebars had what looked like a dried handprint wrapped around the grip, darker than the rest of the chrome, almost stained into the metal. I didn't touch it. Something about the bike made my skin crawl. But I took a photo and figured I'd mention it to store management again if it was still there next week. It was still there the next time I visited, and the time after that, and every subsequent visit for 2 months straight. Always the same position, always alone, never moved or touched by anyone that I could see. Then one evening in late November, I came out after shopping just before sunset and found the motorcycle parked directly behind my car, blocking me in. Not in the back corner anymore, but right behind my vehicle, positioned so close I couldn't back out without hitting it. I looked around the empty lot for someone who might have moved it, but there was no one. The main parking area was visible across the service road, busy with evening shoppers, but the back section was completely deserted except for me and this motorcycle that had somehow relocated itself. I went back into the store and had them make an announcement over the intercom, asking for the owner of a black motorcycle to move it from the back lot. No one responded. Security came out with me and confirmed the bike was blocking my car. But when I explained it had been parked in the corner just 20 minutes earlier, the guard gave me a skeptical look. He walked over to examine the bike, and I watched him reach for the handlebars like he was going to roll it out of the way. He stopped mid-reach, his hand hovering an inch from the chrome, and stepped back quickly. He told me he'd call a tow truck, but suggested I should park in the main lot from now on. Something about his expression told me he'd seen that dried handprint on the grip, and whatever he'd thought about it had scared him. The tow truck arrived 40 minutes later, and I waited in my car with the doors locked, watching through my rearview mirror as the driver hooked chains to the motorcycle's frame. He worked fast, more efficiently than seemed normal, and I noticed he used a rag to touch the handlebars when he needed to steer the front wheel. Within 10 minutes, the bike was loaded and secured on the flatbed. The driver came to my window and told me the bike would be taken to impound, and if no one claimed it within 30 days, it would be sold for scrap. He handed me a business card with a case number written on it and suggested I might want to file a police report if I felt harassed. Then he said something strange. "You're the third person this week who's been blocked in by that thing." I filed a report the next morning, more out of curiosity than actual concern, and the officer who took my statement asked if I'd touched the motorcycle or looked inside the storage compartment under the seat. I said no, and he nodded like that was the right answer. He wouldn't elaborate, but he made a note in his report about the case number the tow truck driver had given me, and said someone would follow up if they needed additional information. No one ever called. I went back to shopping at that store but parked in the main lot from then on, avoiding the back section entirely. For 3 weeks, everything was normal. Then I came out one evening and found a black motorcycle helmet sitting on the hood of my car. No note, no explanation, just a helmet, the same faded black color as the motorcycle, with a cracked visor and more of those dark handprints smudged across the surface. I didn't touch it. I left it sitting there and drove straight to the police station with it still on my hood, holding it in place by driving slowly and carefully. The desk officer came out to look at it, and I watched his expression change when he saw the handprints. He used gloves to remove it from my car and took it inside, telling me to wait. 20 minutes later, a detective came out and asked me to describe the motorcycle I'd reported 3 weeks earlier. I gave him every detail I could remember, and he confirmed it matched the one that had been impounded. He said the bike had disappeared from the impound lot 4 days after it was towed, just vanished from a locked facility with no signs of forced entry. The detective asked if anyone else had access to my car or knew my shopping routine. I said no. I lived alone and my schedule was unpredictable. He suggested I change where I shop for a while and consider installing a security camera in my parking area at home. He didn't explain why, and I didn't ask, because I could see it in his face. He knew something about that motorcycle and helmet that he wasn't going to share with me. I took his advice and started shopping at a different store across town. I also installed a dash cam in my car that records continuously, even when parked. 3 days ago, I reviewed the footage from the previous night and found something that's made me afraid to drive anywhere. At 2:47 a.m., someone walked up to my car in my apartment complex parking lot. The camera angle only caught them from the waist down, but they were wearing motorcycle boots and dark pants, and they stood next to my driver's side door for 6 minutes, not moving, just standing there in complete silence. Then they walked away, and the footage showed them climbing onto a black motorcycle I couldn't fully see in the frame's edge. The engine never started. The bike just rolled away into darkness under its own momentum, disappearing from view without making a sound. I'm parked in a different spot tonight, but I know it doesn't matter. I know that motorcycle will find me again. There's a hospital parking structure in the city where my sister works as a nurse, and for 2 years I picked her up every Thursday after her evening shift because her car was in the shop long term. The structure is older, built in the 70s, with tight lanes and low ceilings that make it feel claustrophobic even during the day. At night, with half the lights burned out and the sound of your footsteps echoing off concrete, it feels like something designed to unsettle you. My sister always waited for me at the pedestrian exit on the ground level, but one Thursday in October, she wasn't there. I texted her twice and called once before she finally replied, "Come up to 4. Can't leave alone." I parked on the ground level and took the stairwell up to 4, annoyed because she'd never asked me to come find her before. The 4th level was almost empty. Just a handful of cars scattered near the elevators and one long row of spaces along the outer edge where my sister's coworker parked. I found her standing between 2 concrete pillars, her arms wrapped around herself despite wearing a heavy coat, staring at something I couldn't see yet. When I called her name, she flinched like I'd woken her from a trance. She pointed toward the far corner of the level without saying anything. That's when I saw the car with its interior light on, doors open, engine running, completely abandoned in the middle of the lane. We walked over slowly, my sister staying close behind me. The car was a newer model sedan, clean and well-maintained, with a purse sitting on the passenger seat and keys still in the ignition. The radio was playing softly, some pop station, and the heat was blasting even though it was a mild night. On the driver's seat was a hospital badge belonging to someone named Lisa Hernandez. My sister recognized the name immediately. Lisa worked in radiology and had left the hospital at her normal time, around 8:30, the same time my sister's shift ended. It was now 9:45. The car had been running with its doors open for over an hour, and Lisa was nowhere in sight. My sister called hospital security while I checked the surrounding area. There were no signs of a struggle, no personal items dropped on the ground, nothing to suggest Lisa had left the car in a panic. The stairwell door was 50 feet away, and the elevator was closer. Both required a badge to access after hours, and Lisa's badge was still in the car. Security arrived within 5 minutes, 2 guards with flashlights who immediately started asking questions in a way that made it clear this wasn't the first time they dealt with something like this. One of them radioed for police while the other began a systematic search of the level, checking behind pillars and looking under cars. They found nothing. The police showed up 20 minutes later and took statements from both of us. They ran Lisa's information and found no history of mental health crises or domestic issues, nothing that would explain a sudden disappearance. Her phone was still in the car, sitting in the cup holder, locked but showing 15 missed calls from her husband. One of the officers tried calling the husband to see if Lisa had made it home somehow, but there was no answer. They cordoned off the car and started reviewing security footage from the structure's cameras. My sister and I waited near the stairwell, not talking, just standing there in the cold fluorescent light while police radios crackled in the background. That's when we heard it, a woman's voice calling for help, faint and distant, coming from somewhere above us. Everyone froze. The sound came again, clearer this time, definitely a woman's voice, echoing down through the stairwell from one of the upper levels. 2 officers bolted for the stairs with the security guards right behind them. My sister grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt and pulled me toward the elevator. We didn't wait to see what they found. We just left, taking the elevator down to ground level and practically running to my car. As I pulled out of the structure, I looked up at the upper levels through my windshield. On the 6th floor, the top level that was supposed to be employee parking only, I saw a figure standing at the edge of the structure, silhouetted against the night sky, too far away to identify, but clearly human, clearly watching us leave. My sister called in sick the next 3 days and started taking the bus to work after that. She never told me what the police found, and I never asked, because 2 days after the incident, I saw a news report about a missing radiology tech from the hospital. Lisa Hernandez had been found in the parking structure's stairwell, unharmed but disoriented, claiming she'd been trying to reach her car on the 4th level when she got turned around in the stairwell and ended up on the 6th floor. She couldn't explain why she'd left her car running or why it took her hours to find her way back down 4 flights of stairs. The report said she was being evaluated for a possible medical episode. But that doesn't explain what my sister told me last week, after she'd had enough therapy sessions to talk about it without breaking down. She said security had checked the footage from the 4th level cameras and found something they didn't include in the police report. At exactly 8:35 p.m., Lisa's car appeared in frame, driving normally, parking in her usual spot. Lisa got out, locked the car, and walked toward the elevator. But at 8:37, the footage showed Lisa's car doors opening by themselves, the interior light coming on, the engine starting, even though Lisa was already 50 feet away and getting into the elevator. And at 8:39, something else got out of the driver's seat. The footage was too grainy and dark to show details, But my sister said the security guard who showed her the video described it as person-shaped, moving in a way that wasn't quite right, walking toward the elevator Lisa had just entered. The footage cut out after that. Camera malfunction, they said, but my sister doesn't believe that. Neither do I.